on YouTube? It's PTT back at it with another Division video. That's right guys, I did say another Division video, you're not hearing me incorrectly, and while I thought I'd actually said that for the very last time until maybe the Division 2 came out, I've been super surprised by what's going on by Massive with the ETF and the future update with 1.7 shortly coming out. So this video we're going to do a little bit of talking about 1.7. I'm going to try and give you my opinion at the end, but I'm going to start off with a few questions and answers about global events and classified gear sets. Now, why I am not entirely clued up on everything, because obviously I've pretty much cut myself completely out of everything that was going on for the Division for a very long time. I've tried to do the best research that I can, but I will be linking videos in the description down below from Binary Num, from Ryler or Taylor. They will give you full-on breakdowns of everything within global events, classified gear sets, and everything in between that I might not cover in this video. What is definitely safe to say though, agents, is I'm coming back to play the Division. It looks absolutely amazing. It's got me very excited for it. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. 1.7 global events. Let's start off with a question that I have seen going about, and that is, what are global events? Well, global events are basically time-gated events that will add specific modifiers to all pre-existing PvE activities. Now, from what I kind of understand, there's going to be several versions of these modifiers, some that are kind of active universally across the board for everybody, that will make content a little easier, but also add new ways to play. There's also going to be some that are activated by the player themselves upon entering certain activities. These include activity modifiers and group modifiers. Some of the things that we have seen, where you get headshots and it causes the NPCs to explode and you get more XP, but that also applies a burn to the player. However, if you complete the activity with that extra modifier on, you get more global event tokens. That is what we're going to move on to now. So basically these modifiers are active. Like I said, you complete an activity, you're going to earn a new currency. The new currency are called global event tokens, and what they can be spent on we'll actually cover in a little while. What I want to do now is move on to a second question, and that is, what do I get from global events? Well, participating allows players to earn a new currency. We've already said that. They're called global event tokens, and they will be used to purchase special gear vanity items and classified gear sets. Okay, classified gear sets are something we're going to talk a little bit about in a minute. But, it does look like, although they're adding in more currency, which you would think would make things a little bit more confusing, they have kept it quite simple in the fact that it's a case of, okay, you do this activity, you get your normal Phoenix credits and things like that. You also get this new currency, global event tokens, but you can only spend them in one place. Now, from what I've seen, there seems to be varying tiers of things that you can purchase with your global event tokens, and depending on how many you spend, what kind of tiered cash you buy, varies the rewards you're going to get out of them. That is something we are very used to in the Division already anyway, so I don't see it being too much of a problem, but it definitely sounds exciting. Another question that I've seen floating around is, when are they going to happen? Well, they are going to happen once a month, and they are going to run for an entire week, and that is really cool. To say that we're having an activity that, if you guys have played Destiny, it's very similar to Iron Banner. It comes around once a month, it lasts for a week, it gives you something completely different to play that isn't there all the time. So when it does roll around once a month, you kind of get excited to play it. The fact that you've got classified gear sets that come specifically from the global events to start with before they're added into the generic loot pool. That sounds very good. And again, like I've already said, I am excited for them. Now, that's kind of a quick short note version of global events, what they are, how they will work in a nutshell. Like I said, I will link a video to Ryler or Taylor in the comment section down below. The guy's got a brilliant channel, the information's on point. He was part of the most recent ETF up in Newcastle, so the guy's clued on to what's going on. He knows how it works. Definitely drop him a follow on Twitter, and any questions that I can't answer, make sure to drop to him. Right, let's move on to something that has me even more excited than global events, and that is classified gear sets. Before we go into this too much, as you guys know, myself and Binary Num are kind of tight. We have a lot of phone calls, we do a lot of playtimes together, and before he disappeared up to Newcastle on ETF, I think we spent like 3 hours on the phone, where he fired a load of questions at me and said things like, Pete, you've been off the game, to bring a player like you back, who's obviously played it an awful lot, loves the game, but has walked away for, you know, certain reasons, what would bring you back to playing? And one thing we talked about was gear sets, the need for new gear sets and the need for gear sets to change up the way you play a little bit more than what they do, because obviously we have current tiers where some are really good, some are really bad and don't get used. And it was kind of a big point to me that what the developers didn't do was just add in a gear score increase with the same gear sets that you would spend hours grinding for, but ultimately not really end up with anything new. I didn't want that. I said that there had to be a lot of things changing in the way gear sets work. Hopefully new gear sets would be introduced and things like that. And classified gear sets seem to tick a lot, not all, but a lot of those boxes for me personally. So again, let's fire off a few questions about what I've seen and try to explain them in footnotes like we did with global events. So classified gear sets, what are they? Well, classified gear sets are a better version of current gear sets. They drop at 256 gear score, but they have all the maximum stat rolls of current gear sets as their lowest possible stat roll. So, as an example then, you can currently roll a maximum of 1,272 stamina, okay, on a 256 gear piece. As the maximum on a current 256, you can't go any higher than that. But on a classified gear set, the lowest possible value will also be 1,272, and obviously it will roll even higher than that. So it's actually making you more powerful, making content easier, without necessarily giving us new gear scores and world tiers and things like that. So it is a really cool way of doing it. You're also going to be able to roll two things on classified gear, okay, rather than just the single one that we can roll currently, meaning that you'll have a little bit more freedom to roll gear stats and try different things. You know, we all know that when you get to kind of end game division and you spend a lot of time playing, you can get a really good piece of gear that for a lot of people would be brilliant. But for you, you're trying to optimize your build perfectly, and maybe you need a couple of extra stamina, a couple of extra firearms, and maybe 1 or 2 extra % of that enemy armor damage or EDR to, you know, really perfect your roll. But you can only roll one thing, so you're kind of constantly trying to balance that. So the ability to be able to roll 2 stats at the recalibration station, that is pretty on point. I really like the idea. It's something I've said for an awful long time, that we should be able to roll more than one thing to help us really optimize and maximize our build. So I'm happy to see that that is in there. And classified gear sets don't stop there, agents, okay? They are also introducing a 5 and 6 piece set bonus. So yeah, that's pretty damn cool, I've got to be honest. While we don't have too many examples yet of what 5 and 6 piece bonuses there are, I can share the final measure 5 and 6 piece bonus with you. So yeah, let's take a quick look at them. So the 5 piece set bonus for final measure will actually buff the 2 and 3 piece bonuses. So that's EDR and protection from elites. Not entirely sure how much it's going to buff it. We'll have to wait for the PTS to find out, but it is going to increase those stats, which is kind of cool. The 6 piece bonus is something very special and seems to have been really, really thought about. When a grenade is defused, you and your teammates will get a buff depending on what kind of grenade you defuse. Now these buffs range from skill power buffs, damage increase buffs, and an armor buff, and they can also occur every 4 seconds now rather than every 8 seconds. These buffs also apply to teammates if they're close enough. So, you know, they've really taken a look at gear sets and thought, okay, we have these gear sets, they're pretty cool. How do we take it further? How do we improve them? How do we make them support the team role even more? And I do think they're pretty cool, depending on what you do, depending on what you're playing, depending, you know, PvE, PvP, certain encounters, you are going to really be able to maximize various different builds. And of course we have loadouts now as well, which is something I'll talk about in another video, because I only found out about them last night. That's seriously how disenchanted from the game I've been for the last few months, that I didn't even check out loadouts. I got on the Division last night, I saw them, I was like, wow, what's this? So I'll probably do a stream later on tonight actually checking those out. But I do digress, guys. Gear sets are looking very good, and I can't wait to get onto the PTS and actually check out all the different gear sets, see what the 5 and 6 piece bonuses are, and see if potentially they are going to be any good. Now, another question then on classified gear sets. How do you get them? Well, they're going to come from global events, and more specifically, global event caches, which you're going to need to spend your global event tokens on to acquire. We spoke a little bit about that earlier. you're going to be able to get up to 3 per month on a rolling basis. Now, the first global event, from what I understand, after the 1.7 launches, will offer Lone Star, Final Measure, and Deadeye. Now, don't worry, agents, if you're unable to play a specific global event for whatever reason, then you can still obtain classified gear sets as and when a specific global event finishes, because the classified gear sets then will be added into the general loot pool. So you'll then be able to go and do pretty much anything and stand a very small rare percentage of getting a classified gear set somewhere else. Again, pretty cool. I like the fact that they're thinking, hang on, we're gonna give players, you know, these limited time events to do things. You can get certain bits from them, but what if, you know, real life shit takes you away from being able to do a specific event? Do you miss out forever on being able to get them, like we have on some of the ISAC missions and things like that? So it's nice to see that they've thought about that and they're looking at incorporating it into the generic loot pool after a specific global event finishes. Now, I would imagine that they're going to be fairly rare to get. But again, like I said, it's nice to see Massive thinking about players' need for loot and the possible inability to take part in certain time-gated activities. And that, guys, is about going to wrap up my scripted version of the start of this video. I know I haven't touched on the Ninja Messenger backpack, and there's a reason for that. That's because I'm going to be talking about that in a separate video, because I actually really want to go in depth at it and talk about some of the possibilities that are going to come with the changes, how some of them are going to be very good, and how I possibly see some of them being potentially bad. And, you know, that's more of a heads up for developers to keep an eye out. But yeah, that's the scripted part. If you're going to tune off now, thank you very much for watching. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, drop a thumbs up and all that jazz. But if you're going to hang around and listen to me babble on for a couple more minutes to give my opinion, 1.7 looks absolutely amazing. It looks like they've really listened to the player base, and while myself and a lot of other, not just content creators, but players, you know, gamers, your general people that pick the Division up and enjoy playing it, walked away from the game after the Year 2 reveal because, well, I personally felt very downhearted, okay? I didn't like the reveal. I wasn't excited about it. It really felt like I'd been kicked in the knackers. But this, with what's going on with ETFs, we know that the agents there got to play 1.7, they got to play 1.8 as well, which is going to be, you know, a later iteration of things to come. Then it really does look like Massive are wanting to carry on supporting the game in a very good way. They want to carry on listening to the players. They want to carry on changing things up in a way that is good for us in so many different ways. Now, something that I do have to talk about, because I feel it's kind of really important to me and a lot of other people, and that's still the state of PvP. I still feel it's in a rather poor way. I actually played the Division last night. I streamed for a couple of hours, first time in a long time, went into Last Stand. My last time playing Last Stand was actually with like Waylor Taylor, Matt Shotshot, Binary Numb. Had a blast, really enjoyed it. There was an issue with shotguns at the time, but I didn't really see too much of the skills being a problem. I came back last night to find myself being one-shotted by Seeker Mines every couple of seconds. So I kind of think there are still a few issues that need to be ironed out, but I'm actually excited for 1.7, and I now honestly believe that the developers can sort things out and they can bring the player base back, but also bring new members into the community. And that can only be a good thing for the players, it can only be a good thing for the game, and a good thing for future iterations, you know, Division 2 and things like that. But yeah, that's it, guys. I've waffled on a little bit too far here. If you've made it to the end, nearly 15 minutes, thank you very, very much. Stay tuned for plenty more Division videos coming your way. Honestly, very happy to be able to say that. If you liked the video, found it helpful, don't forget to drop a like. Again, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. There's plenty more Destiny, Division, Anthem, everything. Videos coming your way galore. But yeah, agents, thank you very much for watching, and until the next video, I'll catch you all soon.